Boo.
Oh!
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another Check It Out show. I don't know about you, Mark, but that music, I suddenly thought we should change our names to Mulder and Scully for this one.
I know. Something a little bit more in keeping, and you can always jump in on the platform here and change it maybe a bit later. Perhaps our fantastic support in the background, Katie, could change those for us, perhaps. But welcome to the show again, everybody. Always a delight to have the opportunity to meet people and find out about the latest, greatest updates and new tools that are available to support schools and services that are available in education as well. But before we dive into all those things, as always, let's have a little bit of a catch-up. How are we doing this week, Mr. Kingsley? What's happening in the world of OWL this week?
Well, I suppose the most important thing is, as you can see, we've spent over £5 on background CGI this edition, which I think has really elevated the show now into mainstream. Next stop for you and I, Mark, is going to be an evening slot on Dave, I reckon.
I think so, yes.
In terms of this week, it's a crazy busy week, I have to say. Sometimes in a good way. I'm sure many who are listening will resonate with some of the challenges going on in our schools at the moment. Here in sunny Peterborough, or not so sunny Peterborough, COVID rates are absolutely through the roof. And we have huge pressures in terms of staff numbers in the schools. I think a bit of a side effect of many of the bubbles no longer there, and a little bit of complacency with testing by students and parents, which has really created massive pressures. So I know a lot of our staff are very much limping to the half-term finish line. So that's been a challenge, providing support, looking at operationally how we keep things going. And naturally, we don't want to have children not learning and not in school. So that's created some pressures. On a more productive note, lots been happening at NetSport HQ. Many of you listening will know that Mark and I and the NetSport team like to do lots of sharing, because sharing is caring. And at the heart of the reason why we do the Check It Out show is very much that mantra. And we do something very similar at the Bet Show. In fact, we do something at the Bet Show, both in a physical sense of come and meet us, come and share what you're doing, great. But many of you will know the last few years, we also have our radio show there, and we broadcast live from the show. And I'm really, really pleased once again this year that NetSport will be the official broadcasters of Bet. We have spat on our palms, but not shook hands because obviously of social distancing. But nonetheless, really excited about that. The one and only Mr. Russell Prue will be hosting our live show. And once again, as a business, we are supporting some some students from different schools around the region, around the country, in fact, to come and visit, to make sure that we don't just get the teacher and educator's voice, but we also get the student voice that we value so much. And I suppose linked into that, Mark, we also take the opportunity to embrace and say, hey, if you've been on the Check It Out show, if you're down at BET, come and see us, and who knows, you might get a chance to jump on Net Sport Radio and share your experiences live from the show floor, what you've been doing, any offers that you've got on the go. Again, anything within reason that we can do to help amplify. We'll both be there for the week to be there to support and be part of that experience. And alongside the exhibiting side of things, really pleased I'll be speaking at BET this year as part of their EdTech strand, and also across the hall at the Learn It event, which is running in parallel for Senior Leader CPD. I'll be joining a panel there talking about digital strategies and what next. So lots to report, really, all positive. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, really good. I mean, I've had a fantastic opportunity today to talk with some of our customers actually at St John's College Southsea about how they're using some of our products. But alongside that, with my ICT evangelist hat on, I've been doing a number of things in recent weeks. For example, last week I was working with a group of Year 6 students at a British school, Barcelona. Working with them and doing some training with them with the Student Digital Leader Initiative that I work on with lots of different schools. And with my global EdTech hat on, we're getting things running and ready for the Future of EdTech conference on the 4th and 5th of November. If you're interested in finding out more about that, head over to LinkedIn and search out Global EdTech, and you can sign up and join us for free. I believe somebody not too far from me, if I look the right way, actually, is going to be involved in speaking at that event as well. So lots to find out about around all those sort of things. But as always, I'll like you to lots of plates being spun, but it's really fantastic to have that opportunity, like you say, to not only share things ourselves, but help provide a platform for others to share and things too. So you might have seen today, for example, I'd spotted a word cloud generator app that have been available, and have a little play around with it, and it looks really good, so I share it. And that's what we do as educators and people that work in the education space. We try and support each other and help others, and all of that, because for me at least, and I think you've got the same values as me on this front, Al, it's important to embrace and support teachers and schools and the children and the communities that we serve. So every which way we can, we try and help each other out, don't we?
Absolutely. And one thing which is really nice, moving on to our kind of topics this evening, is I'll let everyone into a little secret. Every episode we do, I think that was a cracker. We're not going to be able to get another show with that diversity and breadth of products and solutions on. And somehow, which I think is a hugely positive sign for the EdTech community, we do month after month. And this show, I think, is a really good example of that. We've got a really broad set of solutions and services that I think everybody listening is going to find something for them that's really worth following up on.
No, I completely agree. And again, it's that breadth and depth and the innovations we see as well. And one of our guests later on the course of the evening tonight, actually a returning guest, they got some new innovations within their app. And I'm not going to steal their thunder, but really excited to hear from them about what they've been doing behind the scenes to elevate and amplify their solution to education, based upon, like we like as well, that co-creation and listening to teachers. They've updated their app so that they can better help and serve the teachers who are using it in the classroom. Fantastic.
We always like a few updates, but also I love the fact that particularly tonight, if anybody wants to know what areas we're focusing on, the answer is everywhere. It doesn't matter whether we're talking primary, secondary, across the map, whether it's digital tools, whether it's content to read, whether it's keeping your kids safe. We've got something for everyone. So do stay tuned in. And also, please do share online. If you're watching now or even at a later date, please do share a tweet or a LinkedIn post or an Insta or whatever the other platforms are that you might be familiar with. Do share, because one of the successes of this for all of the vendors that take part is really about getting the message out there that there are solutions. Obviously, their solutions have to stand on their own 2 feet when it comes to the evaluation, but really, as a community, want to make sure we give all of these solutions visibility and an opportunity to shine. So please do share the spirit and make sure that you get retweeting as well.
No, absolutely. And I'll just add to that, if that's okay, Al. It doesn't matter whether you're a startup and at the beginning of your journey working and sharing the edtech space, or whether you're, a huge company with hundreds of millions of pounds being turned over a year and all these different things. Everyone's welcome to come and share about the latest updates and things that are available from their stable, as it were. So please do, if you're interested. Get yourself over to netsupportsoftware.com/showcase, where you can sign up and join us on future episodes if that would be of interest to you. But please do, like Al said, and our next show, as Katie said there, will be the 23rd of November. But as Al shared, please do let us know how you get on post-show. It's lovely to hear the stories from previous guests. Arc Maths, for example, were sharing with both of us on LinkedIn earlier this week about an event they were at. It's lovely to see how companies are progressing and moving along with their product as they sort of move forwards along that journey. So please do stay in touch. Let us know what you think, and we're always keen to hear from our audience. So if you're watching right now, please do on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching us this evening, please do ping us a message in the comments. Let the developers and the entrepreneurs who are sharing with us tonight know what you think of their products, so forth and so on. Please do engage with us on the show. We absolutely love to hear from you.
Right, Mr. Anderson, we are already true to our normal form. We are slightly behind schedule already because we've had a good chat and a catch up. I know. Imagine that we are running slightly behind schedule, but I know our first guest is in the green room, quaffing a champagne, waiting for us to bring them onto the stage. So I think without further ado, we should invite our first guest to come and join the show, which is Vicky from the Safeguarding Company.
Welcome, Vicky.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. I haven't got any bats behind me, though, I'm afraid.
Truth be known, I'm getting a bit travel sick watching Mark's screen, so that's all right. You're probably in an advantage there. Now, before we ask our normal 3 questions, Vicky, you're a well-known solution provider, great tools, but some people might not be familiar with the name. So could you fill in the gaps for us before we go any further?
Of course. So I'm from the Safeguarding Company, and we have recently rebranded. Some people might have known us as One Team Logic previously, but we are the Safeguarding Company. We are a total safeguarding package.
Fantastic. Thank you for confirming that. I think most listening would probably have guessed that, but nonetheless, it's always nice to confirm. So let's kick off with our very original and consistent format that we try and do. First question from me. Vicky, tell us about your solution.
So, as I said, I'm from the Safeguarding Company, and it's our belief that it is the duty of every society to take care of all its children and its adults, wherever they live, learn and work. It is implicit within this that providing safe environments in which children and adults can live, learn and work is not just beneficial for them, their families, their schools and employers, but also for the safeguarders and ultimately all of humankind. We work with you to bring together the very best safeguarding technology and practice within a holistic environment. We combine it with CPD certified safeguarding training, expert consultancy, all to create everything that you need for yours to be a world-class safeguarding organisation. Good record keeping is the cornerstone of effective safeguarding practice. A vitally important practical step in safeguarding is to record concerns as they arise. My Concern is our Queen's award-winning secure digital platform that enables staff and other members of your organisation, including volunteers, to record their safeguarding concerns quickly and easily. Recording safeguarding concerns is a carefully structured and consistent way that supports highly effective case management and data analysis. Understanding your safeguarding data is critical if you want to prevent serious harm. By recording incidents and concerns diligently and consistently, a picture will quickly emerge of risks, issues and trends. And by monitoring and managing your data in My Concern, you'll be at the best possible position to provide early help and to demonstrate the impact of the initiatives and interventions that you've been putting into place.
Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you so much for that, Vicky, that insight there. 3 minutes and 8 seconds left. No pressure. The next question for you, Vicky. There are other providers who provide similar solutions in the market, as obviously you're aware. What makes your solution stand out? What makes your solution different to others that are in the market?
There are actually no other companies like us, because other companies offer software solutions, but we're a safeguarding company. So we're that total package. Our company was founded by two ex-chief of police, where both would work in the child protection sector of the police, and they wanted to support every setting to enable them to keep children and vulnerable adults safe from harm. We're the safeguarding company that has created the technology to support keeping children safe. We provide safeguarding solutions that prevent, reduce, and eliminate abuse, harm, and neglect, and protect the well-being, health, and human rights of children and adults all over the world. We are safeguardians, and we offer a world of protection. And what we believe in is what we do, and it's beneficial for each and every one of us. It's safeguarding for everyone, everywhere. Our team of safeguarding professionals have over 75 years of combined experience working in public services, from policing, education, including maths and governance, teachers, local authorities, health and social care. We bring together world-class safeguarding expertise and technology within a holistic environment that combines the in-depth knowledge, innovative software, training, and consultancy. Our comprehensive 360-degree approach ensures that all our customers' safeguarding needs are taken care of through a single point of contact, and that's all backed up by an unrivaled support network.
Wow.
Well, it's hard to argue with that, isn't it, Mr. Anderson?
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you're safeguardians of the galaxy from the sounds of how much you've got available there.
We could get a nice music track to go with that. You know, I'm a huge fan of your solutions and your service, Vicky, and you're well respected. In the time left, how do you think it best supports and serves your audience? You've covered a lot of it already, but what would be your kind of key takeaways?
We appreciate that the challenges that are in the education sector as educational professionals, from ensuring those that are in their care are protected at all costs to making budgets and resources work hard under pressure. We see how much more complex the role is becoming, with increasing regulation, higher parental and student expectations, and rising community concerns. We've all been there. We all understand that. I used to be a DSL myself, so there's nobody who understands that pressure more than I do.
Thank you, Vicky. And I was wafting, but with your previous answer, but I was just sharing a book here, which I would also recommend. And of course, you'll recognize it because it's written by your two founders, Martin Baker and Mike Glanville. But it really shows at the heart of your organization is really that much broader picture in terms of not only what we can do now, but how we can take the narrative forward. You know, and it's a credit as well.
Absolutely. So where can people find out more about the safeguarding or the safeguarding company, Vicky?
The Safeguarding Company, you can find about us on our website. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. If you search for us on Google, then we're the first ones to come up as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing about the Safeguarding Company this evening, Vicky. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good to see you. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers, Vicky. Bye-bye.
And a little bit of a addendum to add on to that summary. Great solution, but it's so great that it's also a solution that we choose within our own NetSport technology to integrate with, to pass up concerns through to their system. So, you know, a really, really good company and definitely one worth checking out.
Hence, we call it the Check It Out Show.
Indeed. There's a lot of those going on here.
So next up, we have, and it's not but next up we have Mark Nichols joining us from Literacy Planet. Welcome to the show, Mark. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, guys. Yeah, really good. Thanks. Really good to be on here.
Good to see you, Mark. How would you feel about changing your company name and adding a "the" on the beginning, just for consistency tonight?
The Literacy Planet. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do it. We'll sync it all up. Sounds good.
Good to see you on the show. Mark, do you want to kick it off this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Al. So welcome to the show, as I said, Mark. Lovely to have you on here this evening. For those people who don't know, what is Literacy or the Literacy Planet?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, as I say, great to be on. Always good to talk to new people and new audiences. I'm Mark. I'm the head of UK for Literacy Planet, and what we do is we strive to make learning English and literacy in particular as fun as possible for students. We provide an online platform for both primary school students and secondary school students, where they can log in and play hundreds of games across phonics, sight words, reading for comprehension, and grammar, spelling, and punctuation as well. So for students, really, at essence, what we try and provide is something which is fun, which is engaging, and is going to keep them wanting to keep coming back and logging on and using it. And for teachers, to try and provide something which gives them an extra resource and more material that can really help their students improve their literacy levels.
That's brilliant. I think in every school, we know literacy is the key to unlock so many other subjects as well.
Yeah.
It's often talked about. How would you position in terms of the differentiators in your solution, Mark? What are the main bits you'd want to highlight?
Yeah, so I think really for us, there's a few. The biggest one really, I think, is the gamification aspect. And our games are genuinely fun to play right across from early years foundation all the way through to Key Stage 3, because our material goes all the way through those levels. And not all of our activities are academic. Some of them are kind of side games and reward games that students can play, more kind of akin to games that they may experience on non-educational programs. But they're all there to keep them wanting to come back and using it. It's obviously really important that students take that iPad or Chromebook out of their rucksack and actually use the resource that is being provided to them, because otherwise it's not going to be doing anything. So keeping it fun for students is key. Other ways we do that, we run competitions regularly for our schools which subscribe to us. So one of our games is called Word Morph, and it's a word building game. So sometimes we or I will set a score and send it out to all of our schools, and any students that beat that, we'll send them a certificate, and we can give them prizes as well. The scores are never that high, by the way, if I'm setting them. Customization as well. Students have a lot of control on Literacy Planet, so they can create their own spelling lists on there, so they can put their own words into any game, and they can select what games they play. So they're not always at the mercy of either what their teacher has given them or what the platform is providing them. They have a lot of control over the type of content and what they're working on. And I think for in terms of the content as well, yes, we provide activities around phonics and sight words and reading for comprehension and spelling. But also, I think is a key thing that we provide hundreds of hours of content around grammar and punctuation as well. And that's right the way through from EYFS through to Key Stage 3, as I say. And a lot of schools come to us looking for more resources in that particular area, and it's something that we can provide. And for teachers, they can get very, very specific in terms of the concepts that they can assign out, and really target specific students with very specific concepts. So get very granular with it, which a lot of our teachers really like to be able to do.
Just listening to your answers there, Mark, what about in terms of accessibility and breadth of the games you provide? I'm thinking of SEND and EAL learners.
Yeah.
How broad a gamut of different activities do you provide?
Yeah, it's very broad. So we work if we're looking at primary and secondary in particular. A lot of SEN departments, a lot of SEN schools as well use us. And again, it comes back to that engagement factor, and that a lot of the games we have on the platform they're not always academically based. So students can play their academic games, and there's a wide range of content and something really for everyone to be able to keep wanting to come on and having fun. But then they get these rewards and things that they can go and play some of these games which are not academic. They've always got to go and play the academic games. They've got to earn gems to be able to play and, for example, go in the arcade. But it really feels like it's a game which is not necessarily educational, which we get a lot of feedback from our schools, which our SEN departments and SEN schools using us really do come to us for that reason.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mark. We haven't got very long left now, but the final question we always share and ask is how a tool best supports or serves your audience. You've given lots of compelling reasons in your responses so far, but was there anything else that you wanted to add around that question?
No, I think really for primary schools, it's instilling that love of learning around literacy really early on, and helping them bridge that gap between primary and secondary, which we know can be such an issue for a lot of students, and being able to give them something else that they can go through and take with them and carry their license through to their secondary school if they need to. And for secondary schools, again, it's coming down to engagement, getting those year 7s and year 8 students motivated to log on. It's not always going to be their motivation to improve their use of a semicolon, but if they can go and access the arcade and beat their friends in some of these games and those scores, then they're going to be much more motivated to do it. So we have a lot of success with that.
Brilliant, thank you. And where do people find out more, Mark?
So they can go to literacyplanet.com and find out and sign up for more information or trials, and our LinkedIn and Twitter pages as well. And we're also running a free competition in March, free spelling competition, so free for any schools to enter. They can find out more information on our website and compete against other schools around the UK. So really excited for that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming and sharing on the show this evening, Mark. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Love that. That's a broad solution, isn't it? Sounds
Yeah,
great.
and I think he's absolutely right around the engagement level. I mean, you hear some teachers talking about engagement being a poor proxy for learning, but if a students aren't engaged in the subject, what can you do? It's important that students are motivated to push beyond and do that home learning and the work at home beyond what happens in the classroom, isn't it? It's so important. Before we bring on our next guest, I just wanted to address a question from our audience. Andrew Veazey asks about specific support for autistic people. I went back to him and asked who it was aimed at, and it was aimed at Vicky. What I've tried to do, but it appears not to have worked, is to share the Safeguarding Company's Twitter handle so you can take that question to them directly. The message appears to have not worked. Perhaps I put the URL in on the YouTube chat. So, Andrew, if you want to find out more about what they can do to support people with autistic problems, then go to Twitter and look for safeguarding_co, where you're better to contact and connect with Vicky and the team there at the Safeguarding Company. And the details are coming across the bottom right now. Thank you very much for that, Katie. Thank you. So who's up next, Al?
Well, what can I say? Next one. I don't want to give away too many clues, but Tute, it is time for Kate to join us.
Indeed. Welcome, Kate. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Good to see you on the show.
Good.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So you know the form, hopefully, by watching the previous ones.
Yep, I have the benefit of having watched a couple of people go before me, so I understand.
So tell us about Tute.
Yes. Okay, well, so quite simply, what Tute does is we employ qualified teachers, and they deliver live online lessons to fill gaps in the education of children and young people. And our mission is to create a world where online learning enables any child anywhere to fulfill their potential under normal circumstances. We partner with local authorities, with schools and with non-mainstream settings, and we help them to offer their students the curriculum that they would really like them to be able to have. And that can be anything from broadening their curriculum offer with additional subjects. It could be a really high quality solution for their day 6 provision, or it could be providing intervention and adding that extra capacity that enables schools to provide intervention. Now, obviously, Tute has featured on the Check It Out show before, so anyone who's a regular viewer will know all of that already. So what I would like to focus on particularly today is Tute's status as a tuition partner to the National Tutoring Programme, which is a status we hold for the 2nd year in a row now. So obviously the National Tutoring Programme exists to fill gaps in learning and to support disadvantaged learners, which is nothing new to Tute. That's very familiar territory for us. And of course, the Education Endowment Fund recognises that small group tuition can help students to really quickly catch up and compensate for lost learning. But of course, tutoring in small groups is something which is normally beyond the means of most schools because it's just simply not viable for them. But of course, through the National Tutoring Programme, there is a 70% subsidy applied to the provision that's available, and that really suddenly changes the landscapes and makes a very different situation for schools.
Absolutely, and now more than ever, schools are looking at all sorts of different ways to engage in that. So many will be familiar with you in terms of that broader message, but how would you kind of differentiate and identify the key USPs of what you offer?
Yeah, well, it's me who takes the lead on presenting Tute to any schools who are interested in finding out more about us. And schools do their due diligence. And I know that when I'm presenting Tute, we are being compared to other providers. And based on the feedback that I get from the schools I present to, who who more often than not do tend to choose to work with us. It's about the closeness of the partnership working, I think. You know, we set out very much to be a partner, not a provider who's like an external bolt-on. We really want to work in close partnership with the schools, making sure that we keep children at the centre of everything that we're doing for them all the time, making sure that the provision we deliver is tailored to the needs of those students, that it's further refined as required to remain focused and really relevant, and finely tuned to meet those students' needs. Of course, the fabulous learning cloud that we have developed for delivering our lessons is a big selling point for schools as well. It really is a very interactive and fully inclusive learning environment, which is purpose-built. And a huge bonus that we have through our NTP offer this year, tuition partner offer this year, is our partnership with EdPlace, who are working with us to support schools with their pre and post assessment in core subjects up to Key Stage 4. And anyone who partners with Tute will have the benefit of a full customer paid level access to EdPlace for free. They're going to allow licenses for up to 100 students, which is something that's worth £1,500, which is a huge added value for schools to have. And it's a collaboration which is just works in perfect harmony to identify the gaps and then to actually address the gaps in the learning after they've been identified, and then post-assess to make sure that those gaps have been filled.
That's absolutely fantastic, and as you know, Kate, already I'm a big fan of Tute, and I've had the good fortune of eavesdropping on a few lessons over in the past as well. So I can definitely say that it's something worth checking out. The final question, I mean, you've hit so many of those sort of buttons already in terms of the question, which is how does Tute best support and serve your audience? But were there any other sort of key messages that you wanted to share around?
There's plenty more, yes. So I think really it's our offering, first of all, has been further refined this year based on last year's experience to make sure that with the 15-hour block of provision that we can deliver, we're getting maximum impact out of that, which obviously delivers maximum benefits for the students. We can cover all of the eligible year groups and eligible subjects. And of course, we're using qualified teachers to deliver the lessons. The process this year as well has been further refined to alleviate the admin burden for schools even further. Our booking process is very slick now. We allow schools to have access to our curriculum library, which is very extensive. And then finally, I think the relationship management. We've got schools from last year coming back to us this year, which is always a really good sign. Schools can watch their lessons on lesson playbacks. We provide progress tracking. A data dashboard for schools, a very rigorous safeguarding culture, and a fabulous admin and IT support team who sit behind everything that we do, and we can make sure things keep ticking over nice and smoothly for our customers all of the time.
Go, Al.
I was going to say, I mean, you've answered all those questions perfectly. The timing is so relevant that I think that's fantastic. So the really big question, I think, is how do schools connect with you? What's the next step for schools if they want to find out more?
I would recommend that schools go to our website. We have a fabulous and very informative website, and there are links on that website where you can click a button to see my calendar and book an appointment in with me to get a presentation of Tute for your school, and we can talk then specifically about tailoring provision for individual needs of students and schools, and take things from there.
Big tick in the box, personalised service. Like to hear that. That sounds really good. Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you for joining us on the show. Really good.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome, Kate. Lovely to see you again. Take care. Thanks for coming on.
You too. Bye then.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Brilliant stuff. I'm a big fan of Tute and what they're trying to do. I met them many years ago now, and it's just going from strength to strength with the work, and they've been so helpful in supporting continuity of learning in the difficult times we've faced over the last year or so. Absolutely brilliant. Before we bring our next guest on, we've got another question from somebody in our audience. I think it's Andrew asking again about providing links and a recording for us to view afterwards. Yes, of course, Andrew. We're broadcasting live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So post-show, this episode will be available on the... we've got a playlist, youtube.com/netsupport. Go on there, look for the playlist for the Check It Out show. And this, along with all of our other episodes, are available to view there. And should you want to stray up or down a little bit on the page, there's lots of other resources there around our products, obviously, but also some of our podcasts, some of our other interviews around safeguarding, teaching and learning. I do a show on there called Tip Top Tips Edu, with teachers coming on sharing tips for teaching and learning as well. So lots and lots there to view besides. But this episode will be there alongside all of the other episodes that we've aired over the last year and more. Mr. Kingsley, who's up next? Any ideas?
I've no idea. Let's have a guess.
It's you up next. So new for this month's episode, Mr. Kingsley, someone who, as many of you will know, sort of wears more hats than someone who's got lots of hats. And I was going to say a hosier then, but that's something completely different. So you've got the hat that you wear with your multi-academy trust work, and you've got your MD of Net Support, CEO of Net Support hats as well. But you also involve and speak and help lots of other organisations as well. I know you've been doing some work recently with BISA, for example, looking at and sharing advice around how to break into markets beyond the UK. So in this section, we're going to change things a little bit differently, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, Al, about how companies can sort of start to look into markets beyond the UK. Where would you even start?
It's a really good question, and there are so many vendors that, not that many years ago, it was deemed the realm of the big boys or girls for that opportunity to look at international expansion. Whereas, with the interconnected comms that we have now, it's accessible for anybody where you've got the right solution that fits a market. So, yeah, the first question is, well, how do I know what market's right? Well, there's an element of market research that most people with a bit of intent and a Google or a Bing or all other, search engines are appropriate, can start to identify where there are solutions, whether they're similar or whether there are gaps within different territories. We often find from our PLN, we can see narratives in different countries where solutions are being looked for. The things that I tend to get involved in, I did one at the beginning of this week, working with BISA and the DTI, supporting EdTech into the South American marketplace, was very much about, well, what are the building blocks? As a company, if I'm looking to go, the first thing is I want to have market intelligence. I want to understand what the need is. Is the educational landscape the same as in the UK? What are the subtle nuances? Do I have a credible solution that fits? Who are the main players, whether that may be partners or distributors that can help take your product to market for you? How you can connect with a number of perhaps schools or districts in the region to trial your technology so that you can actually get the feedback that it fits market nuance. There's the really obvious things that sometimes we take for granted, but being a BISA member, for example, they constantly provide research and advice in terms of market intelligence around the world. And also linked in with the DTI, we also then get that support in terms of officers on the ground in each country that will help facilitate engagement and meetings with potential partners. And I think it's a combination of that, understanding the market first, making sure your product is genuinely fit for market, and then being walked through the different regional challenges. Some countries have different tax regimes, import-export barriers that might affect. Others, it's just about localization issues, for example.
So, I mean, taking that one sort of step forwards, then, how have you managed to? So I know that as a company, NetSupport have got a presence in the Middle East, a big presence in the US, and in the LATAM's markets that you mentioned there as well. How have you? Let's pick the Middle East as an example, because I know you're going to be going over to the JES conference in just a very few weeks pre-bet. Going over to Dubai for that. How is it that NetSupport has managed to be so popular in the Middle East as it has been?
Well, I'd love to say it's purely down to luck, but it's taken quite a long time, and it did take a number of years to become established. So if we take the last 18 months distraction out of the way in terms of some of the restrictions for travel and engagement, the first thing I always recommend is you've got to get to know your market, and sometimes the easiest way is go. So in the case of the UAE, heading across to UAE, you can jump and head over to the JES show. There's GITEX that happens there. They're technology shows that allow you to see what technologies in demand as well as on offer in the sector, get to speak to distributors and resellers and understand what their product portfolios are, and also, of course, take the opportunity to meet with your potential target audience and understand their needs. That then kind of helps you shape the business plan of how much will this cost in terms of effort and time to move into that marketplace, alongside what are the potential opportunities, knowing the size of the market, the number of potential schools. I always think it's really, really useful in education to understand who the main movers and shakers are in terms of the key regional education titles, be they physical or digital, so that you've also got clarity in terms of how you're going to get your message out there and people are going to get a sense of the availability. Sometimes you absolutely have to offer that free technology up front to build the case studies that are relevant to that region and actually get that research informed evidence base that says it suits for this. So there are a number of strategies, and again, working with partners like Visa and others to actually engage in those markets. And for us, it took a number of years piloting, working with different schools. We then worked with the Ministry of Education for part of their bigger projects like the Smart Learning Project. And of course, over time, if you do the job right and you talk about those relationships, as we heard with the safeguarding company, then actually your customers, if you treat them well and have the right relationship, and most importantly of all, your product does what it says on the tin, they become your sales team for you, because they will spread the word with their peers. And people within education often move around schools, and often they want to get those products that have worked well for them in one school and recommend them into the next school. So there's no quick short circuit, but there is the kind of common sense stepping stones to consider.
Thanks, Al. I mean, I personally, I find this conversation really interesting, but I mean, that would be a real interest not only to our guests on the show this evening, but our audience too. One final question, if I may, Al. If I'm a smaller company and not as well established as some others, let's say, what would you be your advice about sort of seeking some funding? Because, you know, going out and visiting Jess or GitX or ISTE or wherever it is to do that, it costs a lot of money. Have you got any advice for companies about how to go about sort of getting some funding for that? Are there any initiatives available to support small companies?
There absolutely are. I mean, sometimes there are caps on maximum limits, but for example, at the guest show coming up, there is DTI funding. There are packages that will help cover part of the cost of your airfares for your team to go over there. You can get funding to offset the cost of your booth, so that you start to really reduce down the cost. For example, again, part of the Visa initiative, but if you arrive in Dubai and you arrive at the guest show, there'll be a UK pavilion where there'll be lots of UK vendors who are being supported there by the Visa team, making it much more accessible to make sure you fill out the right forms, you get there in place, can support you, and also help amplify the fact that you're there and get you in front of potential customers. So I definitely, if you're in the, and don't forget, Visa isn't just EdTech, it's books and resources and classroom furniture and all sorts. So if you're in the education space, I definitely go and check out their website first, and they absolutely will provide you with information on the funding that's available to support your endeavors.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing your insights there, Al. They are sage and certainly very, very helpful. And as always, with nearly every conversation, not everyone, I have to say, most conversations I have with you, I always come away having learned something new. So thank you so much for sharing. And nice to see that you've got your secret EdTech Diary mug back out again there. Well done for getting that little swap in there. Well done. In true show business style, let's continue with this show. Next up on the show this evening, we've got Johnny Bennett. Johnny's joining us from Reading Solutions UK. Welcome to the show, Johnny.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me on.
Good evening. Okay.
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you very much. And yourself?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. It was just really interesting hearing that, Al. We've just got our first school in Dubai using the program, so it's nice to get a few hints and tips on what we can do to possibly grow quickly.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, we always try and do here, both Mark and myself.
Yeah.
You know, we share on the show, but we're only a tweet away if anybody wants any particular ideas or feedback as well. But listen, let's not waste our time talking about that. Let's focus on Reading Solutions. Really, really interested to hear about you guys. Been seeing quite a bit online recently. So tell us all about Reading Solutions.
Yeah, fantastic. First of all, I'm Johnny, Reading Development Consultant. Tonight I want to talk to you about Reading Solutions, Reading Plus, and how we support schools to improve reading outcomes. So Reading Solutions UK, we provide a program called Reading Plus, which improves reading outcomes in Key Stage 2, 3 and 4. It's an online offering, providing lots of high interest, age-appropriate texts pitched correctly at each student's ability level. We're being told by schools in the conversations that we're having, secondaries wise, when pupils are arriving in year 7, 30% of their new cohorts are 2 years below age related. And in year 6, using our kind of assessment data, we often see 8 to 10 years in reading ages between the most able pupil and the least able pupil. Given this, as a teacher, how can you then sort of differentiate reading development for each child. But essentially, can you guys hear me okay? It seems
You're
to be cutting out.
just about there, Johnny. Yeah, just dipping in slightly, but go for it. You seem to be back again.
Yeah. So, essentially that is what Reading Plus does. We're there to support teachers by providing that independent silent reading practice that really develops stamina, so that children not only enjoy reading, but develop a deep understanding of what the text actually means when they're reading it.
I'm liking your stamina on the move broadcasting while you're carrying the laptop.
I'm just keen to make sure you can hear it all.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Over to you, Mark.
Tell us, Johnny, how does your reading solution sort of differ from any of your competitors that may be in the market?
Yeah. So, broadly speaking, just about every other reading program that isn't kind of phonics development is effectively an online library. So if schools just want access to a wide range of text, and it's great, and obviously they definitely have their place, but they all make the assumption that children can read and that all children are motivated to read. They're not teaching programs. Our program Reading Plus, it's unique in the way that it supports pupils to develop reading speed, reading stamina, as well as comprehension and vocabulary to make strong, confident readers. It's based on over 30 years of research and has many peer-reviewed studies behind it. We use a guided window to ensure efficient left to right scanning and gradually increase text complexity at a pace which is comfortable for each pupil, while also exposing them to many different genres. If they understand what they're reading and have the confidence to tackle texts that are way outside of their comfort zone, then they're going to be much more switched on and get much more enjoyment from reading, and not to mention better SATs results, if I'm allowed to say that.
I'm not gonna cut you off and stop you mid flow there, Johnny. And you said it. So I was like, listen, just digging a bit deeper then. Let's put my sort of teacher hat on for a second. You know, the final question, as you know, is how does the tool best sort of support your audience? How does the tool sort of support a teacher? Let's say I'm an English lead, literacy lead in the school. How does it best support me? You talked a little bit about how it supports students as well, but if you could share a little bit about that as well, that'd be really good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say our main stakeholders are the pupils themselves, and we get loads of excellent feedback from children and parents in how much they enjoy using it. They take control of their own learning and develop that intrinsic motivation and that want to read. From a teacher's perspective, they get easy to access and easy to interpret data, which kind of shows usage, comprehension scores. It shows progress, which is really useful for end of term reports. But it also provides lots of high level like skills gap analysis. So specifically kind of hones in on where the pupils are doing well and doing not so well. So targeted intervention can then be provided. From an SLT perspective, progress, let's say, is really easy to monitor. It's whole school level, class level, and down to individual pupils. You can differentiate between pupil premium, SEN, etc., and ultimately justify the outlay on the program. This is fairly well, it's essential with the new recovery premium obviously coming in. Now, there's a lot of research, just to give you an idea of what the feedback that we get. SATs rate in one school went from 60% to 93% of using the programme. A school down in Derby had 19% of the year fives reading at kind of age related at the beginning of the year, and then 70% by the end. I've just noticed the time sort of
that's always that's fine. It's always nice to get some feedback from customers, and obviously with our kind of move towards a bit more evidence-based in solutions, that's always a big tick in the box. Absolutely. So Johnny, tell us, everybody listening who's thinking that sounds pretty good to me, need to find out more, how would they go about connecting with you good folks?
Yeah, so we've got our website with lots of case studies, testimonials, etc., which is readingsolutionsuk.co.uk. Obviously, we're on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you search for Reading Solutions, then you'll find us. What we offer schools, if they want to kind of initially get in touch and have a conversation, it's very kind of consultative in terms of what we want to find out how we can support them, but we also then offer a free pilot of the program where the schools can actually see it in action for themselves.
Brilliant.
So get in touch.
Thank you so much for joining us, Johnny. Good to see you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much
Johnny.
for your time.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
sharing.
much again for having us.
Yeah, very
Take
welcome.
care,
Thank you,
sir.
Johnny. Cheers.
Definitely one to check out. Really, really like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. And just looking forward to our next guest now. So our next guest on the show this evening is none other than Wolfgang Soldner from i3 Technologies. Welcome to the show, Wolfgang.
Hello, gentlemen. Good evening. Nice,
Hi, Wolfgang.
nice to be joining you. Hi, Al. Hi,
Good to see you.
Mark. Nice to see you both.
Mark might not have noticed, but his camera seems to have frozen slightly.
I know. I think
Thank
it's
you.
quite
Yes,
funny.
I will sort that out right now whilst you start, Mr. Kingsley, with the first question.
I'm gonna kick things off while Mr. Anderson gets sorted. So, Wolfgang, welcome to the show. Tell us about i3 Solutions, Technologies, even.
Yes, so i3 Technology is part of the i3 group. The nice thing about it is it was founded and still run as a family business back in 1968 and still belongs to the family. It's a Belgian company that by now can rely, as you heard, on 50 years of experience for its solutions in education as a predominant market. We've by now become one of the world's leading manufacturers of interactive technology for group collaboration in specifically in education. Business as well, but our education market is the one we really have a big stronghold on. We ensure that basically we leverage existing technology by building solutions that work in a way that schools need them to work by integrating into existing structures and systems. Our innovative solutions bridge the digital and analog environment. We offer both, giving you the technology that's easy to use and integrate into your existing infrastructure. As a family company, we really aspire to create environments where our interactive and integrated solutions inspire human interaction, and that really is at the core of what we do as a company.
Thanks, Wolfgang.
So, yeah.
So I was going to say, I know you come very highly recommended by Mr. Anderson, who has seen much of your technology. So I'm going to hand over to him to ask you a bit more about the differentiators that you have.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Wolfgang. So lots and lots of opportunities and solutions available through i3 Technologies. Could you sort of explain how the various sort of bits of hardware and the solutions that you have from the company differ from some of your competitors? What sort of makes your technologies stand out compared to others?
Yes, so I think what's really important to note is myself actually as an employee for the company who's recently joined as Global Head of Education. I come from 17 years of education myself, from the origins of being a classroom teacher to tech director in international schools. So we really care about the education part. And then, so to that regard, we really make sure that we employ pedagogists to lead our solution implementation and training. Our education team, which I lead, stands at the core of everything we do. Really, we look at product development, end user engagement, as well as becoming a trusted partner in the teaching and learning journey as one of our, if not the most important points to rely on and to keep on going back to. What we try and do is that we try to be really open-ended as an interactive displays company, where hardware, accessory, and third-party applications can really be used seamlessly in what already, as I said, existing systems in schools. So therefore, I think i3 Technologies have come up with an all-encompassing educational ecosystem that fits in and integrates with any pre-existing systems. And that's, I think, a really big differentiator between us and the competitors.
No, I'd be minded to agree as well. I mean, obviously, I've known you for many, many years now, Wolfgang. We first met back 2013, I believe.
In Cork.
In Cork, in Ireland. Yeah, absolutely. But what's been lovely in my interactions with i3 has been just so many people within the organisation have come from education. And, you know, knowing the pressure points, the pain points, and certainly, again, with your leadership roles within schools as well, and leading on technology integration and all the rest of it, it's so powerful when it comes to making sure that what you're providing into the space is actually led by teaching and learning. So obviously technology is important, but the approaches that you're working on and developing within the company really come to the fore, don't they, when it comes to looking at how your tools can be used in the education space?
Yeah, and I think that's really important to note that I've sat at the other end of the table, as you have as well, for many, many years. And I think working for a company that values the actual value added to that teaching and learning journey, and making sure that we don't just sell a product, but we're actually involved in that is super important, especially considering the last sort of 20 months or so, where education has just drastically changed and things have to become more flexible, both physically and digitally.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Wolfgang. I think, again, we've kind of just through the discourse answered that final question about how i3 Technologies best support and serves its audience. But was there anything else that you wanted to add as part of that question at all, Wolfgang?
Yeah, I guess, our whole mantra, like working especially with the people that I've recently been introduced to and work closely with, is really making sure that we help schools become future-proof, whatever that means. And we're just part of that whole solution. And we've got the hardware, we've got cloud-based interactive lesson planning platform, we've got remote device management tools. And I think that all goes towards trying to really help schools become better at choosing edtech solutions, not just for the flashy sort of sparkly bits, but also thinking a little bit more deeper about how things tie in as a whole and really are value added, as opposed to just purchasing the one-off hardware.
Absolutely, Mark. Wolfgang, absolutely. So tell us, people listening in, they're going to want to know how to find out more about your solutions. Look at that. You see?
Yeah. I've had to practice which way to point. So we've got a really lovely educational brochure. If you scan this QR code or just go to our website, i3technologies.com, all the information's there. It's fantastic. It's also at the bottom. I'm on Twitter. Ping me. And I'd really love to get conversations started.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you both.
Great stuff. Thanks, Wolfgang. Thank you very much. Fantastic.
Another really good one. We're running late, Mr. Anderson. So we're going to have to crack on.
Power ahead, shall we?
Next up this evening, we have Mark from Welby.
Indeed.
Hi, I'm
Welcome,
Mark. Good to be here. Thank you for letting us on here. And it was great to hear your advice about international schools, as we'll actually be at Jess for our very first time. And also, we're lucky enough to get a DTI grant, which was probably one of the easiest grants I've ever applied for. So just to support what you were saying.
Absolutely. Well, that's really nice to hear from you. And there's another person I can meet up with for a coffee while we're over then.
A coffee or more, absolutely.
Or more, yes. I thought I'd start low, and then we can always push the bar afterwards. So listen, time is precious. You've been very patient. Thanks for waiting in the green room. Tell us all about Welby.
So we help school leaders to systematically measure and improve the well-being of their staff, to deliver the evidence-proven benefits that we all know this will bring. So things like improving staff attraction, retention, lowering the recruitment needs, lower staff absences, higher engagement, lower costs, and improved pupil outcomes.
Can't say it more clearly than that, really, can you?
I can expand on those things, but you ask short and sweet. That's what we do.
Well, no, I think that sometimes short and sweet is the way to go. So another question we always like to kind of unpick beyond that is, for those listening in who says, you know what, that resonates with me, but there's different ways I might be able to achieve that.
Yep.
Tell everybody what makes your approach different and how it can help.
Well, I think one of the things that's helped us to be different is that everything we have built has been with schools. So I first saw this survey being used, the one we used in Ballyclare High School near Belfast, and they've been using it for years and are tracking their scores manually. And I was working with them and 16 other schools in Northern Ireland at the time. And some of the other schools said, oh, we'd like to use that. So I just started providing this as a bit of consultancy. And it used to take me a day nearly to write one school's report manually, after using a kind of SurveyMonkey equivalent. And in many ways, that's how Welby came to be. And every step since, we've had a guidance plan of schools to comment on everything before we built it into what is now our online platform. And really, our biggest competitor is schools running their own surveys. And the challenge is that they don't often have the expertise or the time to analyse the scores and feedback. And as a result, plans are not always implemented and the changes they're looking for made. So we very much focused on systemizing a process and on what happens after a survey. So we very much see ourselves as a staff wellbeing improvement company rather than a survey company. For example, our report under the dashboard provides recommended actions to make it easier for schools to take action. And we've also a results review call to make sure that they do. So as well as meeting school needs, from our research of other organisations, this is something that I think really does differentiate Alpha. In addition, we allow school leaders to respond to staff comments and hold anonymous two-way conversations, both from within their survey, but also using an ongoing feedback tool, Welby Voice, where specific information can be sought from groups of 8 or more staff, not just all staff. So this really allows for immediate engagement and things like the ability to say thank you for when comments are nice, as well as being able to clarify or seek further feedback. And I don't think, well, I know there are very few solution providers within education that allow that kind of functionality. And by providing them with a recognised and evidence-built survey, school leaders can track changes in scores over time. And we're seeing nearly 90% of schools improving their scores as they take second and subsequent surveys. We also provide a toolkit to help implement implementation and that focus on the culture, so they build an environment where staff want to work and can do their best work. Because at the end of the day, busy school leaders and staff just don't have any time to waste. So our aim is to make everything as easy as it can be and ensure that their energy and effort is focused on those areas that will have the greatest impact for them.
Thanks, Mark. That's really interesting. And I think what you've done with creating Welby is actually highlight that issue. Many school leaders will spend a lot of time actually creating the survey. But then when results come in, like say, the lack of time to actually dig into it, to analyze it, to unpick all those sort of next steps, that's where the actual impact's needed. That's where their time and resources is needed.
Absolutely.
Not pre-survey, but post. So great to hear that's your approach and how you sort of worked and developed Welby. Can you tell me, Mark, are there any other ways in which you think that Welby sort of best supports and serves your audience, which are the teachers and school leaders?
Yeah, so I think obviously for those schools where, well, I think for all schools, but particularly those state schools, DFE schools, obviously we've got the new wellbeing charter come in, staff wellbeing charter from DFE. So the survey we use, which is the Health and Safety Executive Indicator tool, is one of the recognised tools within it. So anybody using it immediately can tick commitment 11. We provide benchmarks and filters against other schools, so you can see what a good score looks like, because often schools don't understand what a good score is. We provide PowerPoints so you can immediately download and share with staff and governors, and it's really everything that makes it easy, because that's what school leaders told us they wanted, where to start and what to kind of action. And it also makes it easy for things like inspectors and particularly Ofsted leadership and management judgment as well. The other thing I think is to make it affordable for schools. So whilst we do have a kind of pro and premium offer, the entry point for all of the things I've talked about today is just £247 plus VAT for smaller schools. And we have a free trial, but I'll mention that just as when you asked me the last question, how do we want people to contact me? Perhaps I can just cover that last bit in the final thing.
So tell me, Mark, how would you like people to contact you?
Well, obviously, you can see there at welby.co.uk. On there is a demo and you can book it. And I do some of those, but we've also got a couple of other people who do them. We just launched actually a free trial version as well, which, whilst it doesn't provide some of the benchmarks and recommended actions, still meets commitment 11 and beats using SurveyMonkey or Google Forms hands down, particularly as we'll still manage the invitation process for you. It's by invitation only, so you won't find it on the website, but everybody who's a Check It Out show viewer is invited. So all you need to do is when you speak to us, if you want to hear about the free trial, then just mention Check It Out and we'll do the rest. So hopefully, that's been useful. And thank you very much for having me on your show.
Pleasure, sir. Yeah. See you in the UAE.
Yeah, I will do. Look forward to it. Take care.
Thanks so much, Mark. Thank you. What a lovely offer.
Absolutely. Always nice for an offer for a Check It Out. And why not? With an offer like that, why wouldn't you go and check it out, frankly?
No, absolutely. And how great that it helps schools sort of raise the level of conversation around well-being as well. Such a huge issue for many involved in education and beyond, even Indeed. Now as we are within the pandemic. Welcome now to the show. Matt McDermott joining us from the Multi-Academy Trust Association. Good evening to you, Matt. How are you doing?
Evening. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. How are you both?
Very well, thank you. Good to see you, Matt.
Yeah, very well.
You
Thank
too.
you very much. Thank you for waiting. I realised we're behind time a little bit, and so I know you've been
All because of him.
No, not you. See, unlike Wolfgang, I always get
Wrong
the point
way.
in the wrong way round. Without any further ado, though, Matt, thank you again for joining us. The first question for you is, what is the Multi-Academy? I'm trying to get the name right for you. Multi-Academy Trust Association. Tell me, what is the Multi-Academy Trust Association, Matt?
Yeah, so we are fresh and new to the market. We've been live only now for 3 weeks. The Multi-Academy Trust Association is a free-to-join association for multi-academy trust leaders and aspiring trust leaders. So been very fortunate to know quite a few people in the sector, having worked with Matt for going on 4 years now. So I set up the association with an advisory board full of way more experience than me, as you can probably tell. And we've put together an association website and platform to give the latest news, guidance, trusted suppliers, and a couple other cool features as well, which I remember running by Al, actually, and he approved of. I think we all have worked with trust leaders in some capacity, and we always know that at times the support above trust leaders isn't always the best. So we've put together an anonymous agony aunt. We call it Find Answers to What Matters. And that is a nice feature for members to ask anonymous questions to our advisory board for advice on, tough to ask questions.
I have to say, Matt, I think one of the things that always resonates with me is we put so much expectation on our trust and school leaders to consider the well-being of their staff and students, that, as we've seen over the last 18 months, sometimes more than, now more than ever, it can be a lonely place at the top. So I think anything that provides an opportunity for that sense of, there are other people out there with the same challenges and pressures, and providing that support can only be a good thing. And that's kind of why it kind of resonated with me, and I was happy to talk to you about it. Now, again, there's lots of different angles, and I like the way that the approach that you're taking, but how would you differentiate what you're offering? Is it very much the communities aspect, the support side?
Yeah, of course, being free to join. There's a lot of associations within the education space, not so many in the multi-academy trust space, but really for us, we're delivering a platform which, what is there to lose for multi-academy trust leaders? It can be a hub that you wish to use as much as you want through the year, through tough stages, there to support. But really, more importantly, I have, no affiliation to the DFE or other organisations within the space, so we can be really realistic in our advice that we give out to MAT leaders. We don't need to be so theoretical in our approach. We can be very much down in the mud, advice from fellow MAT leaders within the community that have worked in the job and know the pain points of these that, like say, Al, can sometimes lack in support.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think there's a definite need for this sort of thing as well, Matt. So thank you, and sort of kudos and hat tip to you for sort of conceptualizing that and doing that. I love the agony aunt idea as well. You mentioned in your initial segment there some other cool little things that are available through the website. Could you share some of those things? Is that possible?
Yeah, so really the key part of our website is our resource section, a one-stop shop really. We hope to grow it into where it will be the latest guidance, advice on funding, latest news within the sector. A lot of news websites out there are sometimes few and far between on their updates. So yeah, and like I said, the agony aunt. On top of that, we've got our trusted suppliers list. So we work with partners, private companies, some of which have presented on here before and even today. So yeah, we want to provide a platform where they can find the trusted suppliers within a specific area.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's a really good concept. Mark, we're doing our usual. We both got excited at the same time there, and we couldn't decide who was going to go first.
You crack on now. Go on.
No, I mean, I was really saying I think it's a great idea, and I think you know, you can never put too much effort into providing those different support and communities. Ultimately, it's the users that vote with their feet where they choose to go to and where they turn to when they need support. And I think it's great the efforts that you're putting in place there. You know, the obvious question, I mean, the free bit, I'm sure will resonate with many stretched trust budgets at the moment. But how would people find out more, Matt, and get engaged?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, see it going along the bottom there. So it's matassociation.org. On there, you'll find plenty of resources which are already free to access for non-members. So really, it's unlocking those premium features for members, as we mentioned, the agony aunt. And yeah, so far, amazing feedback from the sector. It's really blown us away here at the team at Matter. So yeah, really happy.
Brilliant stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming along and sharing. And if you want to come back and give us an update sometime in the future, I'm sure you'd be very welcome to come and update us on how things are going. Thank you so much for sharing this evening, Matt. Thank you.
Absolutely. No problem. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Hal.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers.
Who's next, Mr. Anderson?
Who's next? We next have Joe Hopper joining us from Sparkjar. And I'm going to make an assumption here.
Hello.
Joe, are you down in Brighton by any chance?
Do you know what? I'm actually not. Pretty much all the rest of the team is, but I'm in Cornwall, which is not lovely and beautiful.
Oh, you're far more down my manor then, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good old Southwest.
Yes, makes a nice change. Well, listen, obviously, with my Brighton knowledge, clearly I've got some awareness of Sparkjar. But for those people who haven't, Joe, what is Sparkjar?
So I was thinking really hard about this because I think it's one of those things that is easy to explain when you're showing somebody, but not so much just to blurb out about. Basically, we're a real-time teaching and learning platform. And I think the easiest way to explain what it is without showing it is to use a quote from one of our users, which was that it's like Welby with a big plus. So we're looking to solve similar sort of issues. We're a teaching and learning platform, but we use a different technology to Welby. And I think we're probably a bit broader and a bit more comprehensive as a sort of school-wide platform rather than just a teacher-focused platform. We're designed around teacher and student workflows. So our platform creates a simple, intuitive and safe space for teachers to teach and students to learn. We have sort of flexible features that support individual teachers' ways of teaching to support the teaching of topics, setting of class and homework, marking, feedback and assessment. And Sparkjar, so we look to bring the best of technology into the classroom and into the hands of teachers, students and SLT. I'm ever so sorry if you can hear my dog barking. He's normally so good and he always barks at the worst moments in the world.
I think it's a nice addition and it just shows that he is supportive of your platform as well. Now listen, Joe, we have some fantastic solutions on our show, including, as you mentioned them, Welby. So I'm interested. Now you've talked about that breadth, and we think Welby is a great solution as well. So, so tell us about some of the things from a teacher's perspective that you want to kind of differentiate your platform with in more detail, perhaps.
So there's a couple of things. One of the main things I think is that we have built our platform on what's called Lightwave technology. So Lightwave was built out of the gaming industry. And so what that does is it constantly pushes data to the device so that it's there ready and waiting when the user wants to access it. So you're never going to be sat there staring at that sort of spinning wheel of death in the middle of trying to teach a topic to a class, or if you're trying to do it remotely over video, for example. Particularly at the moment, it's relevant with sort of blended learning, you know, being able to do a single lesson to half your students in the class and half your students at home through the school safe live video platform that we've developed from the ground up. the Lightwave technology ensures that that is a smooth, consistent, stable process, both for the teachers and for the students. I think further than that, we have developed elements of the product that work offline as well. So, for example, teachers can mark work on their commute, so that then gives them back their evenings, and students who are at home that don't have broadband, or maybe they're trying to do homework somewhere that doesn't have broadband or Wi-Fi, they can do their homework offline. And again, everything automatically syncs up, so marking will be sent back, homework will be sent in as soon as people get back into connectivity.
Well, and I guess the follow-on question, which won't hopefully be a surprise to you, is really about which aspects give us some examples of how it best supports your audience, teachers and students. What are some of the key bits that it benefits from?
So I think there's a few bits on that. So I think one of the things that works really well about Sparkjar is a lot of the niggly things that you find with other platforms or programs you won't find in Sparkjar, because everything has been very much built around the teacher and student workflow. So, and they've been thought about very carefully, and teachers are a part of our team and have helped us to develop those. So really solving those little pain points and saving, you know, if you save 10 seconds on a task that's done 100 times a day, that's significant. If you save, you know, a minute on a task that's done 10 times a day, that's significant. So on average, our teachers save 3 hours a week. So that's 2 weeks of teacher time over an academic year. We have a 97% rate of our teachers who would recommend us to a colleague, which is pretty much unheard of in ed tech, I think. And I guess another key part is that we don't just feel like a platform or a standalone business. We're a tribe. We engage really heavily with our customers. We have our Sparkjar Experts program, which encompasses APLSs, ADEs, and our power users in schools, all sharing that knowledge, best practice, and us supporting them in making sure that that's spread out across the school ecosystem.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm mindful you're out of time, but I'm going to give it, and I'm sorry because I know we're behind time as well. But just a quick follow-up question, if I may, Al, because you mentioned APLS and ADE and so forth and so on. For those that don't know, that's Apple Professional Learning Specialists, Apple Distinguished Educators. That leads me to thinking that Sparkjar only works on iOS or macOS devices. Is that the case, or is it agnostic in that you can work on other devices? Just thinking of schools that are going to be watching this evening.
Yeah. So it is Apple only. That was an intentional decision taken early on. I think there's always a trade-off to be made, isn't there? You either go with one platform and you can really make the absolute most of the technology within that platform, but you're potentially cutting off part of the market, or you say we're going to be platform agnostic, but maybe everything isn't quite as slick and we're not making the absolute most of every different platform's unique features. So yeah, we're Apple iOS platform.
Brilliant. Thank you for clarifying that for me, Joe. Thank you very much indeed. Look, where can people find out more about Sparkjar if they want to find out more?
So just on our website, which is sparkjarapp.com. There we go. Lovely. And we're also across social media. There's loads of great information on our website. You can book in a quick call with anybody if you just want to see if we're the right platform for you. No hard sell, I promise.
Very good. Thank you for sharing with us, Joe.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's really great. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Another good one to check out.
No, absolutely. And so I know a few members of the team there. Someone's an ADE that I've known for years as well. Catherine Jesse's worked with Sparkjar a lot. So great to be able to support them and have Joe come and share on the show this evening. Thanks so much, Joe. Who's up next, Al?
Pleased to introduce Chris from Learning Labs.
Fantastic. Well done. And hi there, Chris. How are you doing?
Great. Hi, Mark. Hi, Al. Thanks so much for having me on.
Good to see you. Sorry, we're running a little bit behind schedule.
No problem at all. Been listening with interest.
Sorry, my fault. Sorry.
Mark's taken the hit before I even blamed him. It's not really his fault at all. But
I'm well trained. I'm well trained. I'm like Joe's dog.
We're very lucky that we've had some really interesting guests. So sometimes we do end up a little bit longer. So, Chris, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. tell us a little bit about, now I say Learning Labs, but that's the kind of the focus for tonight. So tell us a bit about Learning Labs.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Sal. So Learning Labs is part of the Equality Solutions Group, who are technology specialists in disability, diversity, inclusivity, and mental well-being. We provide equipment, technology training, dyslexia tuition, and mental health mentoring to students nationally across the UK, often through the DSA, or Disabled Students Allowance, which is funded by the Department for Education in HE. Now, Learning Labs itself is a browser-based e-learning and mental health support platform. It has over 4,000 tutorials, or labs as we call them, on assistive technology software. So both on programs that you may have heard of, like Text Help Read and Write or Inspiration Mind Mapping, and also accessibility features such as those in operating systems like Windows or Mac. And there are also labs on study and career skills for personal development. But the mental health support itself really centers around 6 domains of wellness, which was a concept we came up with in partnership with NEF, the New Economic Foundation, who've worked on things like the NHS 5 steps to wellbeing. The portal within Learning Labs contains a learning section so that users can understand more about the wellness domains and their own wellness domains, an assessment stage so that learners can track their well-being over time, and a develop stage which contains interactive content to help them work on different aspects of their mental health.
Fantastic. That sounds really, really interesting. Thank you very much indeed for sharing that, Chris. How does your platform sort of differentiate itself from other solutions that might be available in the space? And another one on top of that, what sort of use case for this? Is it something you see as being useful for teachers and for them to use across staff, or is it for students to use as part of a PSHE program? How do you envisage, or how are your customers using the platform?
So I think it benefits the students individually in terms of being able to dip in and out of tutorials on software and accessibility, and not needing someone with them all the time for that. And I think Learning Labs is unique because it combines that assistive technology support with the mental health support. And this was something we started working on during lockdown. Learning Labs itself has been around since 2013, providing AT or assistive tech support, but the mental health support has come along since lockdown. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But in essence, we believe in giving the learners, and this could be the teachers, to learning about the software that's available to their students. But we believe in giving them different ways to learn through videos, interactive tutorials, or text guides. And we've also got snap quizzes that follow up and reinforce the learning on there. They can personalize the learning experience by building a lab workspace and formatting the environment to edit out parts that they don't want. And then teachers can come along as a learning mentor without having to have a separate Learning Labs account, and can support the learning through things like personalized notes, calendar reminders, and recommending labs for their students to go and have a look at. But coming back to the mental health content once again, I think the kind of groundbreaking difference here is the ability for both an individual and organizational level to manage mental well-being using the data that comes out of the portal. So, for example, the assessment area of the portal enables an individual to discover domains of mental wellness that could benefit from support. This could lead them to the interactive labs that help them develop. For example, under the motivational domain, we have labs on reaching a state of flow in your work, or using study methods such as the Pomodoro technique. But then at the organizational level, an appropriate individual or team can have admin access to an anonymized dashboard of institution well-being data. And this allows them to monitor and create the appropriate interventions for well-being across their student population. So quite a lot going on there.
Now, I have to confess, hearing all that, I mean, I am a big fan. And if anybody is a regular listener to Net Sport Radio, you'll have heard me doing an interview with Andy Goff recently, covering it in more detail. It is a fantastic solution, and it's really about the breadth of resources. You've obviously alluded to, Chris, there, it's not just about the resources, but what you can glean from it and how it can actually help shape pathways, as well as customizing the content for each user. I mean, it really is an impressive platform, and something that I would absolutely encourage anybody to go and check out. I suppose the thing we always want to ask, and I suspect it's pretty obvious given some of the areas that you're focusing on, but whether you really identify as being some of the kind of key benefits to customers who've been using the solution, the platform?
Yeah, I think we always see Learning Labs as a strong complement to face-to-face or in-person support. And we provide that kind of support through the other companies in the EQS group. But the beauty of Learning Labs is it is available 24/7. So someone can learn about some software or their mental wellness when a person isn't available, over the weekend, if there's a waiting list, for example. And that's why we're really passionate about Learning Labs going out to as many students as possible.
And of course, the final question we always like to ask is, where would people find out more, Chris?
Well, our website is a great place to start, which is learninglabs.co. It's not .co.uk, it is learninglabs.co. Or feel free to follow us on Twitter or LinkedIn. We are Learning Labs UK on both of those platforms.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Really good to hear about the solutions.
Great. Thanks, Al. Thanks,
Yeah,
Mark.
thank you very much, Chris. And you've just gained a brand new follower. Thank you very much indeed.
Excellent. Thank you. Look forward to catching up with you.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely a great solution. And I would encourage people to head across to Net Sport Radio. We've got all sorts. Well, it's on Net Sport on our YouTube channel as well, isn't it, Mark? But
yeah,
we provide the content in different formats. But had a really, really interesting conversation with the CEO there, Andy Goff. And it is a great solution, but it's also really, it's really interesting to understand the context and some of the science behind the approaches that they take. So big tick in the box.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, Mark.
There's so much that it was doing. That's why I drilled down into that question next. I was like, is this for staff? Is it for students? Is it for everybody? Because there's just so much there that can be really helpful. And if you can get that sort of a bit like you have with our product, Net Sport DNA, for example, which gives you that contextual sort of an analysis of the sort of search on keywords that children are using. Similar thing, contextual analysis of how well your staff and student body are feeling. It's a great temperature taker, isn't it, for how good your school is at that on that sort of level, isn't it? And what
context is king, Mark, as we always say.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, listen, you know me, I can rattle on for hours, so I will zip it now. Our next guest, which is our final guest, I believe, on the show this evening, and as a tool which I know works on Apple devices, Joe, who I can still see in the green room, might be interested in this one too. Welcome back to the Check It Out show to Josh Chan. Welcome, Josh. Your microphone's off. Sorry, Josh. There we go.
Good to see you both again.
Good to see you too.
Welcome back. So how are you doing?
Wonderful. I didn't realize I'd be bringing up the rear, but honored to be the last guest and frankly to be reinvited. I hope I can update you all on what we've been up to and answer any more questions that you may have.
No, absolutely. And for those who didn't catch you on the show previously, Josh, you're from a company called Light Up. You've got a variety of solutions. I'm not going to sort of steal your thunder and do your job for you. So what is Light Up for those who don't know?
Yeah, we're a small startup out of California. We've been very, very passionate and focused, I think, in our own niche. And essentially that's bringing new technologies, especially augmented reality, into the world of education. And not to overly boast, but we've been very enamored with this for a long time, and it's been pretty incredible to see the world, not just in education but also outside, kind of turning their eye to this world of immersive technology like augmented reality. And it's just incredible to see the growth in the last few years, and we're very excited, really, of course, about the potential within our space. So, like, I'm a former teacher, and some of the insight I have, I think, is that, you can't just take any old technology and just smash it into the classroom. You really have to think thoughtfully about where is it most useful. And as you correctly, mentioned to the listeners, we've done a lot in our time. We have, if you go to our website, we have a few examples of what we've done, and of those, a few of them are still live. But the one that I think we're most focused on right now, and the one that I think we'll probably end up talking about the most today, is an app called Halo AR. I know it was early on the radar for you guys, and you guys have been very supportive. But in a nutshell, we've taken and really compressed all of our learnings around the space for a while now, and built it into this app, which is a way to let teachers and even students create in augmented reality for the very first time. So essentially, that's been us focusing on making it the easiest way, the easiest and the fastest way, so that in a matter of minutes and in just a few taps on your phone or your tablet, you should be able to get started with AR. So we take something that is pretty daunting for a lot of people, especially like we're here in Silicon Valley, but we have to remind ourselves that the world is not all Silicon Valley. So a lot of it is, figuring out how to background the complexity so that any teacher, and we've had teachers now from over 100 countries use the app, which has been incredible because, I have not been to most of those countries, but even frankly, some non-English speaking countries where we didn't imagine they'd be interested in this or even be able to use it. I like to think that we're on the right track because we're getting that type of attention, and they're using it in their own ways. Like, we're not telling them you need to do this. We're saying we provided a free app that makes it really easy for you to add a virtual overlay onto your existing material. And it could be a textbook, it could be a worksheet, it could be a poster, so basically we're kind of working within the frame of what teachers are already familiar with, and we're allowing them to add that additional magical layer through AR.
So taking perhaps some real world examples for people listening, Josh, just to kind of in terms of how it might be used as an application. A teacher in the classroom perhaps could put some code on a resources on the wall, and the students could then engage by scanning that with their tablet and accessing some augmented resources from it. Is that a good example?
That's a perfect example. And I think one of our most active sort of recent walls is our Twitter page. So I encourage anyone who's interested to check out @LightUp, which is our Twitter account. And we're here in California, but I understand a lot of my fellow guests, and it's including you, are in the UK. And we've seen a lot of uptake in the UK, which has been great to see. I think it's one of the top countries for us. And in fact, I do remember, I think I reshared it fairly recently. There was a teacher in the UK who did a pretty similar thing to what you said, where they had a poster of a group photo of their class. They were using, I think, the YMCA song to learn about algebra, I think, or maybe not even geometry. And they essentially animated that picture so that when they scanned it, it came to life, and they were hearing their class sing this song that was a math jingle, I believe. So that's one example. But we've seen all sorts of creative uses with it, because AR is such an open-ended, tool to accomplish what you want.
Fantastic, yeah.
Brilliant. So you're back on the show again, Josh. Do you have any updates to the app which you'd like to share about across
Absolutely
today?
With the 1 minute I have, I was scanning our notes because we pretty much update the app every week or two, and so you can imagine, since I think spring when we last spoke, we've done a lot. But I would say, if I could kind of bucket into major categories, we've added a lot more overlay options. So one big thing is you can now search an existing library, a Sketchfab, it's called, of over 500,000 3D models. So you don't have to be a 3D artist yourself, but you could potentially start to use 3D to teach, whether you're a math teacher or a biology teacher. There's this wealth of models that allow you to get to it without any coding required. We've also made it a lot simpler to share. So as I'm sure you know from the world of education apps, they often have things like class codes, and so we've essentially adopted a similar model. We also have even a QR code option, which is new, so that a teacher can just print out or show on their PowerPoint slide the QR code, and we make it really easy for that one teacher to then share it with their whole class. So in a matter of minutes, they could be looking at the same overlays.
And only 500,000 resources, Josh. Is that all you've got?
That's what we think. We're itching to add more, and every 2 weeks or so, if you're intrigued by what we're trying to do, stay up to date, because we're always adding new things. We have too much work to do and too little time.
You have to be careful you say that. Mr. Anderson's probably on 300,000 by now, working through them.
Well, you'll break the record, I think. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I love. I mean, obviously, access to the Sketchfab library is brilliant. But what I love even more is that attention to detail about how you actually go about sharing it. One of the issues, with these sorts of tools over the years has been, it's great that you can actually make all this stuff, but if nobody can see it, it's that old adage: if a tree falls over in a forest and there's nobody there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. Well, you could spend forever making something on the Halo AR app. If nobody can actually view it and you can't share it with anybody, then why bother doing it in the first place? And by making it super easy, being a scan a QR code, I'm guessing you scan the QR code within the app, and then that enables you to then scan the trigger.
It works either way. You can scan it in your camera or our app, so we support it regardless. Fantastic.
Well, that's the attention to detail that I absolutely love, Joshua. Thank you for coming and sharing about that, and the Sketchfab editions as well. What's next for Halo AR?
That's a great question. I mean, as I said, we have a laundry list, and we also are starting to get more and more community feedback, which has been incredible because it's not just our ideas now, but what teachers want. One example is we've gotten enough requests now for people who want to use it for scavenger hunts or escape rooms, which are done, by teachers too, which I love. And there are a few features in our app that make it trickier to do that. So we're currently, as we speak, well, my team is, I should say, working on new features to enable that, make that more easy to create, which is pretty awesome, right? You could have your class do it either virtually or even if they happen to be back in the classroom, sort of a school-wide or a classroom hunt where you're going around and using AR to find those clues. So that's one. Another sneak peek, I guess, is we're adding some support over time for cards so that we could allow for more interactive AR activities. This is actually not formally announced, and so I don't want to really make any commitments, but it's sort of this idea that you can do more with what we already have, and that's something that we're excited to allow teachers to create potentially new interactive forms, and incorporating more older forms of learning like flashcards, but then also new things like AR. So we're right at that intersection, and I suppose I could leave off by saying it just so happens tonight we were invited to participate. Apple EDU does these Twitter chats every so often. So I'm sure I'll be booted off soon because you guys are all running late. But if you'd like to continue this conversation, if you happen to be up at 2 a.m., which is 2 a.m. UK time, I'm going to be on at Twitter joining a few other AR companies because we're going to be talking about sort of the uses of AR in education. But also next Tuesday on the 26th, which is actually at 8 p.m. UK time, so actually pretty much the same time as going on now, we'll be back on Twitter doing this. So if any of you listening, or you two even, would like to learn more about AR, not just from us, but from other peer companies, would love to see you on this Twitter chat.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, that's Apple EDU chat. So that's I guess you're doing the American Geos, and then you're doing the
exactly.
EMEA Geos next Tuesday for that one there. So brilliant. Exactly. Look forward to catching up on that. And if you aren't available to catch up on that and participate live, then if you do use the hashtag Apple EDU chat, you can always read back the thread afterwards as well, as you can with all Twitter hashtags. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Josh.
It's great to see you both. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Josh. Take care.
Cheers. Wow, what an episode, Mr. King. Yeah, I can't even say your name tonight now, Al. Look, it's been such a long time chatting this evening. It's been a fantastic show again. So many sort of rich and amazing, diverse solutions being shared across the whole show this evening. What an absolute joy to be involved in it.
Absolutely. Big shout out to everyone who's contributed online to the show this evening. Our usual supporters, Dave, Becky and Eddie, who are always online supporting the show, along as many others who've been asking questions and engaging. But yeah, a really nice, really good broad mix of solutions once again. And it's great to see the community continue to expand. And yeah, long may it continue, Mark?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I will also say as well, which we'll probably say for an off-air chat afterwards, but I think actually just from some initial feedback from the likes of Welby and Reading Solutions UK, that new little segue that we have where you shared some advice for EdTech companies, I think that went down really well this evening as well, Al. So thank you for sharing and passing on some of your sage advice during the course of the evening as well. Thank you.
My pleasure. And one final thank you always goes to the gears and the cogs that make our machine work every episode. So a big thank you to Katie behind the scenes for coordinating and organising and making such a professional production as we always have. So thank you, Katie. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
So when are we back on, Mr. Anderson?
Well, as the I think we'll say just below here right now, we are back on the 23rd of November from 7 p.m. We've got a full lineup of presenters already booked in for next month's show, which is looking absolutely sterling again. But if you wanted to join us for a subsequent episode, then please do, as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you're still with us from that early 7 o'clock start, please do go to netsupportsoftware.com/showcase and register your interest to be involved at that place there. But if you are going to be attending BET, as Al said as well earlier on this evening, why don't you pop down to the Net Support stand? You'll find myself there, you'll find Al there, and we're always happy to have conversations with people who've got an interest in EdTech, because boy, do we have an interest in EdTech. So please do come and join us at BET or on the Check It Out show next month on November the 23rd. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and hope to see you on the next episode. Thank you very much. Thank you.